What up, though, good people? Welcome back to Dude Days of Divorce. Happy Therapeutic Thursdays. I am Antoine, aka Ant, aka your boy Freeze the Hood Therapist. I don't know how many times I've tried to do this last video. It's the same situation with the one before. Hopefully, I can wrap it all up immediately within the 10 minutes provided, right? So, first things first, mental health check in. I'm doing good. Upward trajectory, still going that same direction. I'm not where I want to be just yet. I liking it. I liken it to that time, where you've had too much to drink the night before, and it's not like you tipsy or anything the next morning, but you're still dehydrated because of what the alcohol did to your body overnight while you slept on it because you didn't drink water before you went to bed like you should have. That's the feeling I am right now, right? That's the percentage level I'm on. So to get back into the story, I left off with me uh, voicing my issues, them not being addressed, me giving her the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe I'm not communicating my issues thoroughly enough, and then feeling like my intelligence was being played with, me getting frustrated, impatient, saying something out of pocket, and then whatever it is I said or however I said what I said, becoming the new focal point of the conversation instead of the issue that I brought to the table in the first place. And so that went on for a while. I had to start working on the way I communicated and my demonstrativeness and all that stuff because I talk with my hands. Um, you don't really see it on here, thank goodness. But I talk with my hands. That's right. So I had to work on that type of stuff. And but even while I'm working on this, the issues that I'm voicing are not being addressed. So finally ended up saying, "Hey, you say one of the things that you love about me is that I address your issues with consistency. But here I am, I voice this issue, this issue, this issue, this issue, and you've done nothing or very little, giving very little issues to actually resolve these, uh, very little energy to actually resolving these issues. And then so finally, she just got to the point where she was like, I don't feel like it. I don't be in the mood, right? Also on some G stuff, right? Couldn't be mad at it. Well, I was mad at it, but you know what I'm saying? On some G stuff, right? So uh so at that after that point is when she starts hinting at something happening to us, right? We never talked about us breaking up or something happening to us no time in our relationship except during premarital when it was, are we gonna take this step or we gonna hang it up? And we took that step. And so 3.5 years later, you're talking about you act like you'll be okay if something were to happen to us. Well, I'm not acting like I'll be anything if something were to happen to us because I ain't thinking about something happening to us. And then her next thing would be, well, you act like, well, I don't think you'll fight for us if something were to happen to us. And my thing back to that was, what more am I supposed to fight? I'm fighting this, I'm 100% in now. I'm fighting me, my own BS and baggage. I'm fighting you, your own BS and baggage. What else am I supposed to be fighting? Right? So um, that continued, and I continue voicing my issues. And it got to the point where I ended up reaching out to one of my friends who's I knew she'd been through some similar type stuff in her marriage. And she told me that one of the pivotal things in her marriage that she did was she got quiet about her issues because she knows that she had explained her issues to the point to where he knew what they were. He understood what they were. He understood what it would take to meet them. And at this point, it's just time for her to just let him do what he gonna do. Either he gonna meet him or he not. And it took me 5 months to put that into practice because I already knew that, my then wife, if I got quiet about my issues, so would she. I mean, she wasn't doing nothing to address them anyway, right? So time goes on. So about a month before I decide to put that into practice, my biological father dies, right? And I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm trying to understand how I'm feeling because it's not the pain of losing a parent, but I'm not understanding what it is. So, through the process, I come to find out that I'll come to realize that it's the pain of losing the opportunity of having a relationship with him that I was, mourning at that time. But through that process, I also remembered the thought process of, you know, letting him do him and but leaving the door open for a relationship. And there was, I've written him a letter and I told him, I was like, hey, you're my father. You volunteered for that position. You stepped into that role voluntarily. I shouldn't have to ask you to do the things, that a father does for their child. And, you know, doors open, but I'm not going to keep asking you anymore. And it clicked on me that I was asking my wife to be a wife to me. And she voluntarily stepped in that position and she knew what it takes and she knew what it was the exact same thing. So that was like step one towards me saying, all right, it's time for me to go ahead and get quiet about my own issues. And then what actually kicked that into play was our last therapy session, which it took her a year to schedule because that was the priority she placed on our marriage. Um, that last session, there were two things. One, she said that me voicing my issues, I was being abusive because there was always something to fill in the blank about the way I voice my issues. Too loud, too quiet, too serious, not serious enough, too much, too infrequent. Always something, right? But so it was being abusive, right? And she'd said that to me before, one on one and in private, and even though counseling, that's private also, it's not as private as one on one in the home, right? So I felt like she was becoming a little too comfortable, falsely accusing me of being abusive. So I was like, okay, then let me. That's further confirmation I need to quiet down about my needs. And then toward the end of the session, she was asked, by my godfather, our counselor, what am I supposed to do? Referring to me, what is he supposed to do about having his marital needs met? And her response was, well, what about what I want to do? And for me, that was it. That's all I needed to hear because they separated what you want to do from meeting my needs. And meeting my needs is not what you want to do. So why am I going to keep voicing them? So I decided at that point, I'm just going to voice, the business of the household that we do need to discuss. And one of those things was I was going back to school to finish my biblical studies degree. And it only had a few more classes to take. And, we had to budget for it. So when I found out how much it was going to cost, I told her. And she did not like me telling her how much the tuition was going to be without, given that I hadn't had much conversation for her outside of that. Uh, and then about 2 months later, a month later, she separates her direct deposits from coming into the household account. And then a month later, after that, she presents me with divorce papers, um, which take about 2 months to process fully and finalize. And our divorce was finalized 2 days before Christmas. We found out about 5 days later, and that is when I decided to start due days of divorce. So I'm coming right up on the time limit now. I guess going forward, um, I'll dig a little deeper into some of the specifics of some of the issues that we were having in our marriage, which surprisingly enough were no real big difference from most of the marital issues out there. All of the top reasons for divorce were the main issues in our marriage, but we'll get into that in our next session. Again, I want to thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, whatever it is you're supposed to do on whatever platform it is you're watching it. Um, keep praying for me. I'm gonna keep praying for y'all. Be good.